What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are here for the Russian Grand Prix, episode number 51 of the My Team journey for season 3. Now, we had a good race last time out in don't know where. I think it was Monza. Yes, Monza, Italian Grand Prix. As expected, pretty good racetrack for us, and we were able to get, spoiler, the full 25 points. We now move on to Russia, where again, this is actually a pretty good circuit for me. I always go really well here in league racing, so I think we should be able to do pretty well against the AI. I believe it is a weaker circuit for those guys, so let's exploit that if we can. Resource point wise, we are pretty much maxed out in terms of this car. We're going to get a ultimate brake upgrade on this car in the build up to this race, and that will mean this car is fully maxed out in terms of performance upgrades at that point. We're also going to do an upgrade to the durability facility. This is an effort to be able to do more upgrades, hidden upgrades, which haven't been available to us because we haven't had the final spec upgrade. Hopefully in the future, that'll enable us to make this car even more durable. We are slowly rounding off everything that we need to do with this car. We've got really solid foundations now. The only thing left to do is durability and maybe do some of the personnel upgrades, which will make the second driver a little bit faster. So that's something to look forward to. Something not to look forward to is next year's regulations. We have had some stable regulations lately, but that is all set to change as we head into the next season of Formula 1. And now that we are the best car heading into this race, we have everything to lose in season 4. It has taken us 51 episodes, over 6-7 months, I don't know how long it's been since we started this journey, to be the best car. We are finally there. We've had low progression in terms of resource point earning. We've had high progression for the AI. We've had low earnings, reduced earnings for the player, and higher earnings for the AI. We've really made this career mode as difficult as it possibly can be. And that in itself has made this career mode go the distance. We are finally competitive. It's taken us nearly 4 seasons to be the best car. And that, in a nutshell, should be the experience for everyone, in my opinion. This is how long it should take, a bare minimum, to make the best car in F1. You don't see, Haas F1 team being the best car now. They've been in the sport 6 years now. They're going backwards. So this is, best case scenario, the authentic, F1 experience. Anyway, time for quali. Alright, so here we are for qualifying for the Russian Grand Prix. I was rambling about progression and stuff in practice, that I forgot to mention that we actually had some struggles in Friday practice. We were actually pretty slow and struggling to beat the objectives. It's become a real issue now in Season 3. I mean, yes, the AI stepped it up a level and it's been difficult to beat them this season, but actually trying to predict the AI's level has been very, very tricky to pinpoint the right difficulty from track to track, because the AI's pace varies so much track to track. But I think we've got it spot on now as we head into qualifying. Hamilton on a slow lap here. Oh my goodness! We are out of qualifying in the Russian Grand Prix. I hadn't even got warmed up and got in the mood for qualifying, and we are already out of this quali session. Qualifying 1, first flying lap. Hamilton out of the pit lane, and puts us out of contention for pole position in our first race since having the best car. Absolutely unbelievable. Look at this from Hamilton. He was on the inside, then moves to the racing line at the last second. Here's a look from his onboard, and this is even more suspect because he doesn't have the DRS open until we get to the back end of the straight where he's at risk of getting overtaken. Opens it right at the death for no reason at all, but to maintain track position and get in the way. And that has completely ruined the entire race weekend. We are out in qualifying. We are going to have to start from the back of the grid. My teammates on provisional pole in Q1. It's all happening in this Russian Grand Prix at a time where we could ill afford to have stuff go against us like this. We are the best part of 70, 80 points behind Max Verstappen in the driver's standings. And this is going to be a massive blow for us in this Grand Prix. Last place. The one saving grace for this now is we can take a new engine. And this was something we needed to do at some point in this career mode because we were very low on the final control electronic. But now we'll take it. It's time for the race.
Tough luck there. It's not quite where we'd want to be on the grid, but chin up, it's not the end of the world.
Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea, and a race that has historically been dominated by the Silver Arrows. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's talk about Benjamin. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Ayrton Senna yesterday puts him on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Gasly.
Oh my goodness. My teammate is on pole position for the Russian Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen down in P5, third row of the grid. That's more of what we want to see as we head into a titanic battle with the Red Bulls, for the drivers and the constructors. We're coming good at the right end of the season. We are starting from the back of the grid of this Russian Grand Prix. We're going to use the softs because no tire wear, no strategy. We're going to have to just absolutely punch through the field at the start of the race and then cling on to the race leaders with bare pace. So let's see if we can do it. This is a crucial race in the context of this championship. If we don't win today or win this season, it might never happen again on this game. Away we go for this race, and it's actually been an okay start. We gain a position before we head into a braking zone, which is always a positive sign. Down into turn 2, a couple of cars gained there. Actually, more than a couple of cars, a good handful of cars positions gained there. Thank you very much. Round the outside of Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. Can we get him as we head into turn 4 and 5? Yes, we can. He leaves plenty of space. Thank you so much, Sebastian. He is a gentleman of the sport, and it quite frankly shows there. We get up the inside. No real point for these guys fighting me this hard, since we're going to get these guys anyway. They're going to be warned by the engineer to almost step out of the way and almost think about who you're supposed to be racing. As you can see, Tsunoda and Armstrong fighting side by side through the middle sector. That is not good for their productivity. They're already losing touch with the points runners, which is not going to favor the team boss overly well. These guys who are scrapping for minor points in this bottom end of the championship, any point that they can get is absolutely crucial for these guys, and they're already pretty much out of touch, getting points up the inside of both the AlphaTauris. And, well, I wish I had a speed gun on how fast I was talking there, because I think I broke the speed limit. That was pretty ridiculous. Round the last corner, and we have gained, what, nearly 10 positions in that one lap? That was absolutely ridiculous. We'll get a position check in just a moment. There's Ayrton Senna still absolutely leading the way at the end of this first lap, heading into lap 2. Yeah, we've gained 10 positions, so if we keep that up, we'll be, well, leading the race in absolutely no time at all. But the first 10 cars to overtake are always going to be the easiest, especially on lap 1. But now as we get into almost the second half, the top, it's almost a different formula, the top teams from the bottom teams. It's going to be that much more difficult. But we're showcasing some pace. Purple sectors on lap 2, which now that I think about it is, well, everyone gets purple sectors on lap 2, so that's absolutely fine.
Tyre condition is still looking good.
No issues with the car. Potential issue with the tyres, though. It looks like we're sliding a lot. Let's check the pressures as we head through the last corner. It is 108 degrees on the left rear tyre. That is not ideal when it comes to extracting, well, pace over the course of a long-term stint. This is not ideal. Not ideal at all. At Russia, which is not really known for having high tire temperatures, we're going to have to rein that in a little bit. I know we got caught up on the curb in the start of Sector 3, which initiated the first slide. But yeah, once you start sliding in this car, it's very easy to kind of buck that trend. So for the next couple of laps, we're going to have to short shift and use higher gears in order to keep the rear tires in check. But yeah, that's not ideal. We have gone for an aggressive setup. I think 9 on the anti-roll bars on the rear, which makes this car very good at rotating at low speed. But yeah, when the tires start to wear, when you over-rotate the car, the temps just skyrocket, as you're seeing right now. I'm not driving very well, but we will rein it in. It's just a case of getting used to the car in these conditions, and Ayrton Senna's lost the lead of the Grand Prix. He's actually going to lose P2 in a minute here, as we can see Charles Leclerc not making a move. That was quite weird. I think he hesitated there at the second part of that straight, going through that little kink. But yeah, Ayrton seemingly losing positions at this stage. He is falling backwards in this race. There goes Charles Leclerc. I wonder if he's got an engine issue. Maybe he's running an old engine. I mean, we have previously had the worst.
We're trailing our teammate by 4.5 seconds. They're on old softs. They're in third. The time last lap was a 1 minute 32.9.
Wow, 32.9. He's like nearly 3 seconds slower than my best lap of the Grand Prix so far. And he did previously have the fastest lap of the race. He was in the 29s at the early stage. But something is definitely happening to Ayrton Senna. He was so fast in the opening couple of laps, and now he's falling like a stone in water. Round the outside goes Max Verstappen, down into turn 2. My teammate is now off the podium after seemingly dominating the early stages of this race. He's getting overtaken by everyone. Something is wrong with that car, and Jeff is not telling me. I guess he doesn't want to blow it out to the rest of the world, all the other teams competing, but you know, what can you do? He's just losing so much time, and it's actually backing these guys up into me, which is inadvertently helping me get these positions made. Prez and Hamilton going side by side through the middle sector. But this could end up in a bit of a crash. This is a little too congested for my liking. 3 wide as we head into Sector 3. Perez, Hamilton, Ricciardo. Who's going to come out on top? It might be us, actually, as we get Perez. Ricciardo side by side with Hamilton now. Whoa, nearly a back end loss, and Ricciardo backing out when he didn't need to. We've got his position. That was really weird from Ricciardo. Maybe he felt he was going to fall off the racetrack there, and we were able to grab the position into 8th now. This is ridiculous. We're gaining positions like crazy now. Round the outside of Hamilton into turn 2. What a move. What an absolute belter of a move. And now Senna's trying to go around the outside of Sainz, or more like Sainz is going up the inside of Senna. We're going to follow the Ferrari here because my teammate's not got the pace right now. I can't really work out what is actually the problem. It's not brakes. It's not mid-corner, I don't think. I thought it initially was straight line speed. I can't put my finger on what that problem is. Maybe he's just getting attacked by everyone. Sometimes this happens. It even happens to me sometimes. You just get attacked by everyone and you fall out of rhythm, and then you just become so vulnerable and you can't get into a rhythm. It's just a knock-on effect. It's a snowball effect. I don't really know, but Senna needs to get back in the groove because I need him to be scoring good constructors points. He was leading this race. Leading. I started last, and now I'm ahead of him. 7 laps into the Grand Prix. I don't know. Maybe it's more than just rhythm. I think there's definitely something wrong with that car. It could just be an old engine. It could be that it ticked over 50% after lap 2 or 3, and that's had a massive knock-on effect. Maybe he's turning he can't turn the engine down. It's pretty much flat-out formula now at this point. I really don't know. If you guys have any suggestions, I'd love to know, because we need to minimize this kind of stuff happening in the second half of this season. I hired Ayrton to do a job, and so far he's not doing it. Anyway, this is Max Verstappen into the pit lane. Thankfully for his case, not onto hard compound tyres at the early stage of this race. Onto mediums. Now my plan is, now that we've got some amazing track position, I'm actually going to stay out. I'm going to try and overcut some of these guys. I think maybe the soft could potentially have better race pace than a new set of mediums because the tire wear is so low. It's probably beneficial to stick it out on the soft for maybe 15, 20 laps. I'm not really sure. We're going to test this out because it might be a viable strategy. Ayrton has now made a pit stop, and despite getting overtaken by Ricciardo recently, he's re-overtaken the McLaren again. So hopefully this is the start of Ayrton's race now. He can get back into the rhythm and fight back towards the top 5, or dare I say it, even a podium in this race. But we are pressing on in this race, and I think we're losing touch to the guys behind. 29.4 for Leclerc. Yeah, we can't compete with that. It's into the pit lane now for us. The mediums are quite clearly faster, maybe by over a second in terms of delta. So we are getting off these tires. Fortunately stayed out too long on these. Hopefully that hasn't cost us the race win, because we are actually catching the race leaders by quite a margin. We do have the fastest car at this stage, and this is a weak track for the AI. So this is an ample opportunity for us to get some big points over Verstappen, but we've let them get away a little bit in this mid-stage of the Grand Prix. They've undercut us by 2 or 3 laps, and as such, they're now about 5 seconds in front of us once again. And that being Verstappen, 5.9 ahead. So we're going to have to really sweat this one out if we're to catch Max Verstappen. We do have great pace. Verstappen is now caught up behind Leclerc and Gasly, who have seemingly, like, form-wise, come out of nowhere in this season. They're all of a sudden challenging for wins, and Verstappen is kind of dropping the ball despite, you know, no other teams really making any progress apart from us. So Red Bull on the back foot a little bit in this race. We are doing our best to chase them down. Purple to the first sector. This is where we can showcase a bit of our pace with 2 or 3 lap fresher tires. I know tire wear is a little bit low here, but we've got the car under us to really put these big teams under pressure. So here we go. This is our fastest lap attempt. We've caught Bottas by maybe a second, near enough to that. We are absolutely depleting the ERS. We've only just entered Sector 3, and we are now pretty much out of ERS. That's how much we've drained it on this first half a lap alone. Catching up to Bottas now, 1.3 seconds. So previously in Sector 3, where we were quite slow here because of the tyres overheating, I thought the tyre temps would get better the deeper we got into the race, but that proved not to be the case. I just kind of drove around it. Now we're on the mediums, and the mediums are incredible in all sectors. We don't have to worry about holding back in Sector 3 to look after the rear tyres on this yellow set of mediums. We are absolutely flying at all times. Round the outside of Valtteri Bottas we go. And now, we might be in the game here to win the Grand Prix, because Verstappen is only 3 seconds up the road, and he's in the same train as the leaders. So it's basically flat-out Formula 1 here for the rest of the Grand Prix. This is, you know, early 2000s stuff where you're just going flat out every single lap. We're not having to worry about ERS. We're not really having to worry about fuel. All the tyres, we're just pushing as hard as we can. And that's Nikita Mazepin being an absolute legend and getting in the way of Max Verstappen. Thank you very much. That cost him at least half a second there. So, every little moment like that is very, very handy for us. Only 8 laps to go in this race. I know we are catching them quickly. Catching is one thing, passing is another, especially in a DRS train where I'm running high downforce. I believe 10.7 wings. So it's not going to be the easiest to overtake these guys in a straight line. As long as we're close enough heading into the braking zone with our ultimate brake upgrades, you know, we're going to be half a chance to lunge from pretty much everywhere. Maybe even here. Let's have a look. Yeah, even on the brakes there, we make up quite a bit of difference. Can we get Max Verstappen up the inside into this corner? It's a medium speed corner up the inside. You know, initially, it looked like we could have got him, but then the stopping power of us was too great that it didn't let us overtake him. Oh, Daniel Ricciardo's out of the Grand Prix. What's this all about? Here's the replay. He's following my team. Oh, Senna spun! Senna has spun into the path of Ricciardo and Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. At least 3 or 4 cars there have lost their wing, and it's all because Senna has been struggling with car issues today. He's looped it round, clattered into the side of Daniel Ricciardo. The Ferrari has been collateral damage as well. Ricciardo straight out of the Grand Prix. Perez might still be in this race. How is I think my teammate... No, they're not out! They are still in the Grand Prix.
Okay, we can take you this lap.
We're thinking about a box. We're thinking about a new set of tyres, maybe a set of softs. But now that I think about it, I think softs is not the way to go. We were struggling for temps on the softs, and I think the mediums is actually the way to go. We have more pace on the mediums than what we do on the soft, and we'll stay closer to the race leaders here. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully we have enough time left in the Grand Prix to overtake these guys with DRS and not have to rush things too much. I'm just thinking about what my teammate's doing here. It looks like he's serving a penalty after that incident with not only Ricciardo but Sainz and Perez. So both Perez and Senna getting a penalty there, which is unfortunate. I think that's probably just a racing incident. No real intentions there to crash into anybody, but that's the way the FIA have ruled. But safety car not coming in at the end of this lap. It will most likely be next lap. But yeah, I was just a little bit worried about the situation, because we had a late safety car in Zandvoort, but we have another retirement in this Grand Prix. Both the McLarens are out now. This is Lando Norris having an engine failure. Lando has no luck at Russia, it seems. That is unlucky. Safety car's already out, and I hope that this doesn't extend the safety car being out, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, as the safety car is pulling in at the end of this lap, despite Norris being stranded still on the side of the circuit. But going back to what I was saying earlier, I was worried about how much time I had left in the Grand Prix, and the AI having ERS to play with at the back end of this race, hence why I've stuck with the mediums instead of going for the soft and having to re-overtake Bottas and then everyone else and worry about tyre temps. In this scenario, as long as I can be on the pace early, I shouldn't need to worry about anything. So here we go, ready for the restart of the Russian Grand Prix. Out of the last corner, we got a decent exit considering the circumstances. It's always so difficult to compete with the AI in these conditions when there's a safety car restart. The tyres are just never up to temperature, so we're doing our best job to bring those up now. And even with an upgraded car, it doesn't take long for these tyres to phase in. So from now, we should be able to fight. And Verstappen, at least early doors, looking a lot more vulnerable than what he did in Zandvoort. It's almost like he's a completely different driver in a completely different car now. He was unstoppable in the first half of the season, but since Monza, things have changed. Round the outside of Max Verstappen we go into the third sector of this Russian Grand Prix. Late under brakes, but Max holding the outside. Can't hold it long enough, and we take the final spot on the podium in this Russian Grand Prix. Finally, we are ahead of our championship rival. We'll be able to take some points out of this race, but I'm not done yet. I want to take more. I want to win this race. Max Verstappen is leading this championship by at least 70 points. We need wins. We need big wins with Verstappen down the order. We've got to keep this up. 2 laps to go. Gasly, literally nothing separating us. So thankfully, we've got a bit of time in this race. Nicholas Latifi out of the Grand Prix. And Schumacher. Has been a kerfuffle for the back markers. All trying to fight over a point. And oh my goodness, there's a Alfa Romeo who's just spun out of nowhere into the path of Latifi. It's George Russell, just like Senna did. It seems if you're an amazing driver, you are having spins in this race. Hence why I haven't spun yet. So hopefully that's not a safety car. If that is the case, that is curtains for our chances of winning. Just in case there is a safety car, I think I'm going to have to go for this move on Gasly right now, because that Alfa Romeo is still stranded on the circuit. We need at least P2 in this race to get some decent points. On Verstappen, up the inside we go. On the Alpine. That was a desperate lunge. I needed to get that done here and now, just in case there was a late safety car called. Never know with these guys. But there we go. Very, very late under brakes. Very committed for not only myself, but Pierre as well. He was going in super deep into that corner. Thankfully, we had the inside and managed to command the track position. So, 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Leclerc is isolated. 8 tenths to him. DRS is now enabled on this last lap, and that is my final warning for track limits before we get a penalty. We've got to rein it in now for the final 2 laps. We are in DRS range. We're more than within DRS range. Close enough to the point where we can get the lead of the Grand Prix here. Here we go, round the outside of Leclerc. He's got nothing to defend with that. And we go round the outside as we head on to the last lap of this Russian Grand Prix. We have now gone from last to first in 26 laps, but it's not over yet. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
That's a new fastest lap.
Was not expecting that. It's not over yet because the AI like to do super ERS mode on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Still within 1 second. So we've got to keep our wits about us, but also not get any warnings for track limits. That will be game over. It'll put us in P4 and off the podium if we get a penalty on this last lap. We've been here many times before. We know what to do. Close it out in the final lap of the Grand Prix. No mistakes, no spins. The car has been unbelievably fast this race weekend. We've just had to rein it in at times to get the most out of it. Last corner, and we are going to win our second race in a row.
Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
Oh my words. This car was so bloody fast today. That was amazing.
Well, today we've witnessed some great battles here in Sochi, and they've taken a fantastic win. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Taking care of the car was absolutely vital today. It's been obvious all weekend that the pace was there, but look at the attrition rate we've had. They would have been very concerned about any minor anomaly towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Yep, you can say that again. Unforced errors from a lot of people up and down the field. My teammate having car issues at the early stage. It would have been really interesting to see what would have happened to Senna had he not had some kind of mechanical faults early on. You could see he clearly had the pace, but then you could see so clearly that it fell off almost instantly. But he recovered really well. Despite having the spin and the crash, Ayrton Senna has recovered to get P6 in this Russian Grand Prix. So maybe there was just something wrong with the first set of tyres. I don't know. It was strange. But a Senna versus Daly battle in the same car would have been insane. Who knows? He might have been a long way up the road. But yeah, things really did work out in our favour today. Despite the weekend not being entirely smooth, we had the massive crash with Hamilton in qualifying, started last, took the engine penalty, overtook everyone, whether it be through strategy, overcuts, or just general overtakes and dive bombs. That was quite a sensational Grand Prix. We cut the lead down to 65 points to Max Verstappen. Still a mammoth task to undertake to try and win this championship. But we move into P2 in the constructors' standings as well. Still, Red Bull looking very formidable. But their form in the last two rounds has been a little bit shaky. So if we can keep piling on the pressure, Red Bull, if they keep cracking like this, we might be half a chance to get back in the fight. So yeah, we've got to implore the Pierre Gaslys of the world, the Charles Leclercs of the world to keep driving the way that they are. They are doing an amazing job with the equipment that they have, keeping Verstappen off the podium. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you need to see plenty more racing game content. Absolutely crazy race, this one. I really don't know how it's going to go for the rest of the season. It really is tit for tat with the AI. Sometimes they're amazingly fast, and other times, like today, we were just absolutely on form. So we head to Singapore next, and without the need to worry about possibly changing engines anymore, it's another fast track for us. So again, we're looking for the win. We need to keep winning to stay in the fight. Again, I've already said thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know who's going to win this championship down in the comments. I'll see you guys next time for the Singapore Grand Prix.